one of the most important archaeological sites in all of North America, was established in 1607 by British colonists along the James River in Virginia. This site, known as Jamestown, is significant because it represents the first permanent English settlement in the New World and the beginning of English colonization in North America. The town was named after King James I and would soon become the capital of the Virginia colony. But now, scientists have uncovered some shocking genetic secrets about the people who lived there. The history of Jamestown is one of struggle and hardship. The settlers faced disease, starvation, and attacks from local tribes, yet they persevered, and the settlement grew to become one of the most important colonial towns in the Americas. But who exactly were these early settlers? And what can their DNA tell us about them? Archaeologists have long been interested in the people who lived at Jamestown. Who were these people, and where did they come from? In the past, researchers have used a variety of methods to try to answer this question. For example, they've analyzed the types of food remains found at the site, such as animal bones and plant seeds. They've also studied the tools and other artifacts that were used by the settlers. However, these methods can only provide a limited amount of information. Fortunately, new technologies have made it possible to learn more about the people who lived at Jamestown through their DNA. Scientists recently used a technique known as ancient DNA sequencing to analyze the genetic material of several individuals who lived at Jamestown. This type of analysis can provide detailed information about an individual's ancestry and also how they are related to other people. By studying the DNA of the Jamestown settlers, scientists were able to learn more about where these people came from and also get insights into the difficult lives they lived. The findings of this study were recently published in the journal Nature. The authors of the paper are affiliated with various institutions, including the University of South Carolina, the College of William and Mary, the Smithsonian Institution, and the National Park Service. The study's lead author is Matthew P. Bunn of the University of South Carolina. According to Live Science, the research team analyzed the remains of 86 people who died during the 17th century at Jamestown. The goal was to identify the origins of these individuals and see if they were related to each other. Surprisingly, they discovered that most of the men buried at Jamestown were not related to each other. There were very few close relatives among the male settlers. The team discovered 3 groups of men who were closely related, which means that these men had likely come to Jamestown together as part of the same group of settlers. But the vast majority of the men buried at Jamestown were unrelated to each other, which suggests that they had arrived at the settlement independently over time. This could have happened through various means, such as being part of a later wave of colonists, or even being prisoners who were sent to Jamestown as a form of punishment. Based on their DNA analysis, the researchers were also able to determine the ancestry of the individuals buried at Jamestown. Most of the men were of English, Scottish, or Irish descent, but there was also evidence of Native American ancestry in some of the individuals. This is not surprising, given that the Jamestown settlers interacted extensively with the local indigenous tribes. It's possible that some of the settlers had formed relationships with Native Americans, which resulted in intermarriage and the mixing of ancestry. But there is another explanation for the Native American ancestry found in some of the Jamestown settlers. According to the Smithsonian, the genetic results suggest that several men were the descendants of women of Native American ancestry and men of European descent. But this wasn't the case for all the settlers. The study revealed that 2 groups of men were the descendants of women who were likely taken from West Africa and brought to Jamestown through the transatlantic slave trade. Researchers discovered that these men were related through their maternal line, meaning they inherited their DNA from their mothers. This suggests that these men had the same great-great-grandmother who was brought to Jamestown as a captive from Africa. Unfortunately, the study was unable to determine when this event took place. However, it's possible that this woman was brought to Jamestown during one of the early years of the settlement when the colony was still struggling to survive. It's believed that the first Africans arrived in Virginia in 1619. Records from the time period indicate that a ship carrying 20 to 40 Africans arrived in the colony, and these individuals were sold as indentured servants. This event marked the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade and the introduction of Africans to British North America. While the study was able to shed light on some of the settlers' ancestry, it also uncovered a dark secret from the early days of Jamestown. You see, archaeologists have long been aware that the people who lived at Jamestown faced a difficult and sometimes brutal existence. The settlement was plagued by disease, starvation, and attacks from local tribes. These hardships likely took a toll on the mental and physical health of the settlers. And now the DNA analysis has revealed another disturbing aspect of life at Jamestown: the presence of high levels of mercury in the remains of some individuals. This finding suggests that some of the settlers may have been exposed to mercury, possibly through the use of mercury-based medicines. Mercury is a heavy metal that can cause serious health problems, including neurological damage. Exposure to high levels of mercury can lead to symptoms such as tremors, memory loss, and difficulty concentrating. In fact, the individuals with the highest levels of mercury in their remains showed signs of neurological damage, such as bone lesions and dental issues. This discovery raises questions about the type of medical treatment that was available at Jamestown and the desperate measures that the settlers may have taken to cope with the hardships they faced. But this isn't the only evidence of mercury poisoning that has been found at Jamestown. Previous research has revealed that mercury was present in the teeth of some of the settlers. This suggests that they may have ingested mercury as a form of treatment for various ailments. At the time, mercury was believed to have medicinal properties and was used to treat a wide range of conditions, including syphilis and tuberculosis. However, it's unclear whether the settlers at Jamestown were using mercury intentionally as a form of treatment or whether they were exposed to the metal through other means. Another possibility is that the mercury may have been present in the food or water that the settlers consumed. Mercury can contaminate water sources, particularly those that are near industrial areas or coal-burning plants. The settlers at Jamestown may have unknowingly ingested mercury through contaminated food or water, leading to the high levels of mercury in their remains. Overall, the discovery of high levels of mercury in the remains of some of the Jamestown settlers is a troubling reminder of the hardships they faced. The presence of mercury suggests that these individuals may have been exposed to dangerous substances, possibly through the use of mercury-based medicines or contaminated food and water. This finding highlights the importance of understanding the historical context of Jamestown and the challenges that the settlers encountered as they tried to establish a new life in the New World. Through the use of ancient DNA sequencing, scientists have been able to gain new insights into the people who lived at Jamestown. The findings of this study have shed light on the ancestry of the settlers and the difficult lives they lived. The presence of mercury in the remains of some individuals is a disturbing reminder of the hardships they faced. As research continues, we can expect to learn even more about the fascinating history of Jamestown and the people who played a role in shaping early English colonization in North America. What do you think of this new evidence coming out about the Jamestown settlers? Let me know your thoughts. And thanks for watching.